Native Creatives, as you should all know by now, is about helping develop you as artist educators, helping to develop personal and professional practice. We really want to get this conversation going and make you as artist educators feel that you can utilise your creativity in your own way, in your own home, in your own studios, but how that can then benefit your teaching and learning back in school. So the idea is that we will have a Native Creatives event every term, hopefully over the next 18 months, maybe beyond. We are looking to focus each event on a slightly different concept or theme. So if you have anything that you'd like to talk about or you're really interested in particularly, let us know and we can perhaps look into getting the right kind of speaker. But this is for you. This is not CPD. This is not for your school. This is for you as artists. So I really hope you've enjoyed this week. We have really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to introduce, without further ado, our next set of speakers, our final set of speakers, which is really, really exciting. Where have I put my, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So we've got two speakers, which is our first for Native Creatives. We have got Sketchbook Circle. We are joined by Georgia Naish and Eleanor Brass from Sketchbook Circle. Sketchbook Circle is a year-long collaborative project established to encourage artist educators to make time for their work, their own personal work. It began 7 years ago when Eleanor Brass and fellow artist educator Tanya Paget brought together artist educator friends using sketchbooks as a vehicle for collaboration. They were looking for a way to commit their own time to their own making around their busy lives working in education and wanted to develop a community of practitioners. By 2003, Sketchbook Circle was established with the support and encouragement of Susan Coles, of course, who was at the time was the president of NSEAD. The circle was set up in support of which is the Thinking, Expression, Action, an initiative established by the NSEAD, Campaign for Drawing, and NADFAS to develop the use of drawing in art education. Alongside talented artist educator Georgia Naish, Eleanor has continued to run the circle and has seen it grow significantly, with artist educators taking part across the United Kingdom and Europe. Participating in Sketchbook Circle means belonging to a community of artist educators who are like-minded and passionate about engaging with making and collaborating with others. I know that you're going to not only be inspired by Georgia and Eleanor this afternoon to become part of an artist community, but will learn from its benefits and rewards to you as artist educators. So please give a warm welcome, without a huge round of applause, to Georgia and Eleanor. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for welcoming us. So nice.
Yeah, hi everybody. Really nice to see everybody, and we're thrilled to be asked to contribute to Native Creatives. We're going to do a sort of two-hander. So Eleanor's going to start, and then I'll take over sort of halfway through, and then I believe we have time for a Q&A at the end. You ready to start, El?
Yep. Great. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the circle came about, a little bit about how it works, and then some of the courses that we've set up, and then I'm going to pass on to Georgia, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about how things have evolved quite a lot in recent months. Actually, things have changed quite a bit. So I did my master's in painting in my second year as a teacher, and I was teaching full-time in a secondary school, and foolishly maybe I decided I'd do a part-time artist teacher master's at Wimbledon School of Art. So that was one of the first ones that was set up by the NSEAD, and I loved it. It was brilliant. It was a really big commitment for me because I had to travel for 2 hours to get there after school. And so I had to kind of go all the way across the other side of London after day teaching, and kind of also find pockets of time to make my work whenever I could. But I suppose what I learned from that, I learned how to be disciplined. And I recognised that the more I made, and the more I wanted to make. And so I kind of learned that when I had time, I just had to kind of pick up and carry on, and I felt like making work more, and it's kind of always on my mind. So instead of kind of waiting for inspiration, I kind of used the gaps of time that I had more effectively, I think, because I was just really engaged in my practice. I think I felt like I had a practice as well as an artist, and that was important to me. And I think that came across to the students, that I was talking about the work that I was making and things that I was reading, and that kind of felt really important and built my confidence as a teacher as well. So I brought my work into the classroom, and you know, they saw me reflecting on what I was doing, and that was really important. So then when I finished my masters, I moved, actually I started to collaborate with somebody else whose work was really different from mine, whose name is Emily Orley, who's a lecturer at Roehampton University. And we had things in common, but it found a real pleasure in collaborating. So we were able to bring together different skill sets, and it kind of made me braver as an artist, and that was important as well, and kind of feeds into the circle. You'll understand how a little bit more later. And then I moved to London, and I went on a course, another NSEAD course, which seems to be a common theme. And I met Tanya Paget, as you mentioned, on a power drawing course, and we both had taken bigger roles. So she'd become a head of department at Lewisham College, and I'd taken on a head of department role. But we both really wanted to keep making work. So we were both looking for ways to kind of keep our practice going in a way that was manageable, but that meant we were still inspired and we wanted to still collaborate. So that's how the circle began. And we sat in a pub in New Cross with a piece of paper, thinking about which friends might want to work together and matching people up who we thought might have a really interesting creative conversation. So the idea is that everyone is connected by a circle. And you start with a book of your choice, and it needs to fit through the letterbox, and you make some work, and you can make as much or as little as you can or choose, and then you post it to the person next to you in the circle, and you receive a book. So every month you make work and you post it, and it's kind of like a pendulum. So you are working with people either side of you in the circle. So we're connected by a circle, but we're only working with 2 other people. And the idea is that you have 2 in-depth creative conversations across the course of a year. Maybe you respond to the colour that someone has sent you, or maybe you respond to the marks that they've made, or maybe you respond to the theme, or maybe you make something that really conflicts with what they've met, the work that's been sent to you. But the idea is that you keep the rhythm of making, and you're committing to it. So certainly that to me is really important, because there's always books to be marked, there's always things to be done, but it's really important to make time to make. So fast forward to 2012, and you mentioned about the NSEAD and the importance of this tea project. And Susan had actually come to visit me at the gallery that I was running in London at the time, and we talked about what I was doing with the circle, and it seemed to suit some of the things that were already happening, some of the creative communities that were already building off the back of the tea project. And actually, funnily enough, my first partnership was Georgia, and we'd not met, actually. We didn't meet for years, in fact. But Georgia's now kind of come along, and we're running it together. And that's actually a really lovely thing, to be working with somebody who kind of has a creative role as a teacher somewhere else, but we kind of bring different skills to the table. It's been a real pleasure to build this community. So this year we've got about 170 participants, and I was having a look. I think there's about 80% of them have been in the circle before. So they've either been in the circle from the start. There's like a handful of people that have been in it for 10 years. But then there are people who maybe they've had a baby and they've taken a couple of years out and they've come back, or maybe they've decided that actually they know what they're doing with their creative practice and they want to leave for a few years and then come back. But it's really an incredible community of people. I think one of the things you have to accept, that you aren't going to make a masterpiece each month. But it's just important that it's part of our lives, and it feels, to me, that's a key part of it. One of the things we do is we have a monthly mail out, and this is actually quite popular. We've had even more people signing up for it this year, and what we have been doing is putting together a prompt or an idea, or a sort of pack of materials, or we've been working a bit more with sort of small artistic groups or companies that we want to support, and we send them out to people so that they've got other things, other resources to access. Some people just sign up for the mail out actually, and other people, you know, come dip in and out of it. But it's kind of quite a big thing actually, and a lovely thing to receive through the post, I think. And the other thing we have done in recent years is a digital circle, which is very popular too. So this means that people can make work physically and digitally manipulate it and send it, or they can make it purely digitally. People are working with film or with animation. In fact, it's quite interesting to see how people that have been in the circle for a long time are using it as a testing ground for new things so that they can push themselves as artists, or even think about things that might feed into their classroom practice. I guess one of the things that I've enjoyed most is actually getting together with other people in the flesh. So we've run, before COVID times, we run quite a lot of courses and workshops. As part of my role in London as head of art, I ran a gallery called Gerald Moore Gallery, and we were very privileged really to have a space where we could hang an exhibition of work by the people in the circle, but also we could get together. And actually it's quite an emotional thing to meet your partner that you've been making work with, and sometimes people work for maybe 2 years consecutively with the same person, and to see them and to kind of connect with them, have a cup of tea with them, is quite an emotional thing. So we would hang work together, and people would come the day before, we'd hang our work from the Sketchbook Circle in a really beautiful professional space, and then have a day of workshops and a really lovely event to kind of celebrate the things that the circle was doing. And so you can see some of the things that are happening there. People from the circle community, we would ask them also to run workshops. So the one in the centre, you can see at the moment, it was a big collaborative, it was almost like a drawing. I think that might have been the one that you ran, Susan, actually. But it was, yeah, people working together and actually having fun and making work together in a space. And then, yeah, and we've carried on working in different spaces. So yeah, this is at the Baltic, where there were the workshops, and we were lucky enough to have a little exhibition there. And then, yeah, further on we've worked at the Arnolfini, and yeah, and we just invited other people to come along and sort of share our, yeah, just come along and share their own experiences. This was I actually really enjoyed the Arnolfini. It's a really lovely place to be, and obviously really inspiring, but a smaller workshop, but lots of different opportunities and really lovely course leaders. George is going to carry on telling you a bit more about the courses that we've been running and how that's changed. But obviously I'm not living in London anymore, so I'm working in Oakham now. So the last course just before COVID was this time last year. We were able to get together and have a course where we were kind of really hands-on. Anyway, passing on to Georgia now.
Okay, thank you. So back in 2019, we decided we'd try something new, and Eleanor has a friend, she's both of our friends now, who was actually based at the Brit School in London for some time, and then moved to Berlin with her partner and set up a creative space there called Little Art, Harriet Poole. And we thought it would be amazing to invite people to come along to Berlin, using Harriet's base, her beautiful home where she has a studio that she runs a business out of, and explore Berlin and do lots of making. So we were kind of really getting quite ambitious with the opportunities we wanted to offer. And we were joined by around 20 people, who most of whom had been in the circle for quite some time. Susan Coles joined us, Elaine Humpleby, who I know is in the audience this evening, and just a group of people who, some of whom knew one another prior to the course, and it was just a fantastic group of people. And we went along and made the most of our sort of 4 days in Berlin. Had many art adventures and great fun, and we had intended to build on this, and we planned and started to organise Berlin 2020, but then obviously couldn't go ahead with that. But it's something that we're interested to pursue later on, is these sort of longer, more in-depth courses that are sort of site specific. So given our plans were scuppered, we, like many people, decided to venture into online courses. And, you know, at the time we were talking about this, we just started teaching online, obviously as part of our teaching roles. And we're sort of tentatively exploring how this might work. And it seems funny now because it's sort of second nature to everybody, but at the time it was quite a leap for us. So we ran our first course in August last year. We ended up offering the same course over 3 separate days because it was proved extremely popular. And we were quite ambitious in what we set out to do. We were working with a fantastic artist called Ros Edenbrow, who did this incredibly ambitious monoprinting with a mesh screen workshop. And people had to basically set up their kitchens as sort of makeshift art studios. And it was ambitious, but it really worked well. And actually, people loved the experience. And we worked with other people, and we delivered a workshop ourselves. And alongside that, we thought, normally what we do in a workshop scenario is we'll set up and provide all the materials and equipment. And we wanted to retain an aspect of sharing resources, and also due to the success of the mail outs and the loveliness of receiving things through the post, we thought it'd be nice to have course materials that were sent out. So this is kind of the model that we've developed. And there was lots of sharing, and even though it was a full day online, there was still that sort of sociability to it, and people were quite willing to share work. Actually, that was really successful, and problem solve and make suggestions. So the elements that we'd enjoyed in our physical courses, we were seeing starting to translate into our online courses. So since then, this was really down to the fact that we couldn't run the Berlin trip again. So we decided we would collaborate with Harriet Poole again. And so she was looking at collections in Berlin, and so sort of almost a virtual trip, if you like. She's referring to collections in museums and galleries in Berlin, and really, really successful, very sort of different tone to the course, but people really seemed to enjoy it. There was a real kind of lovely atmosphere, very calm, very sort of mindful, quite personal. So that was quite a different way of delivering kind of an online experience, and it seemed to work really well. And we hope to collaborate again in the future with Harriet. And then late last year, we're thinking about people that we know, that Eleanor has known for some time through the gallery, that we've worked with in actual physical workshops before. So Stephen Fowler, who wrote the rubber stamping book, we've worked with him a few times, and he's superb. So we invited him to collaborate with us on an online course. And again, it was highly successful. The demonstration of techniques and processes and the kind of experience of sharing all seemed to translate quite nicely. And a friend of mine, Lee John Phillips, who is the artist behind a project called the Shed Project, has an amazing story to tell, and was quite a personal and almost sort of quite an intimate space to share ideas about making work and what leads to making work and things, and personal connections. So it's I suppose surprised us a little bit in terms of just how well it translated and how at home people were in this online space. So we're continuing to pursue these ideas, and we've developed it a little further by offering a monthly meet and make, and that came out really of the fact that people were enjoying spending time together online, but there wasn't really a lot of time for the sociable side of things. So on our physical courses, we would have Eleanor would order a gorgeous cake from a bakery, and we'd have wine and endless cups of tea, wine at the end, by the way, endless cups of tea, and just fun, and pizza one occasion. And we wanted to try and capture a little bit of that sort of the warmth and friendliness of those events. So we've done about 5 or 6 monthly, no, not that many, maybe 3 or 4 of the monthly meetups, and we've sort of got a really nice group of people that come regularly, and sometimes we vent, we share stories, we talk about our work, we talk about our favourite current materials or our favourite book, and it's a really nice sort of wind down session from that working week. And it's just building this amazing community. It's just adding another layer to the friendships that have been made, the kind of support, and don't want to get too sort of soppy about it, but just that strength of feeling and that sort of caring nature of the community is just growing stronger and stronger. We, as a community, and you know, Eleanor and I facilitate this, but it's everybody's community that's a part of it, and we try to really celebrate that and make it feel inclusive, I suppose. So we have a blog on our website, which we've been doing now for about 4 years or so, and there are lots and lots of interviews with people that are part of the circle or artists that we've worked with. And it's a really nice opportunity to share the stories of our members, to talk about maybe their past lives as makers or what their current practice is, or you know, a particular focus on a project that they're engaged in at any one time. And it's just lovely to sort of give people that platform and to learn about these unexpected things about people. So Sue Riley, who's pictured in the photograph on the screen, she used to be a hat maker, and she's from sort of textiles background, and you know, really fascinating things that you kind of don't just come up in everyday conversation. And we also share work, and our members work through our newsletter, which is a regular digital newsletter that goes out. So projects like we've got members in Spain who are doing some community projects. We supported somebody who was running an incredible fundraising project in memory of a student of theirs that had sadly died, and she was doing this incredible fundraising thing. So just getting involved in not just our stuff, but things that are going on in other people's sort of working lives and in their communities. So it's been, you know, it's just a really nice way to continue to build that and consolidate that community. Yeah, I think this should have been the slide before, but this is just our next course that we have planned is happening in a couple of weeks' time, and we're going to continue to hopefully run these sorts of online experiences alongside, hopefully, as things get back to normal a little bit, some sort of face-to-face meetups. Another new thing that we've started to investigate this year is lots of our members have children, and lots of our members have really small children who are inevitably very curious about what their parents are doing as they sit at the kitchen table making work. And I know Eleanor works alongside her daughter, her 3-year-old, really regularly. And so we thought it'd be fun to start to see how we could give the young artists in our lives an opportunity to collaborate with people of a similar age. So at the moment, we're just doing it as a bit of a pilot project to see how it works and how the children respond. And we've got about 20, 30 participants by now, I think, ranging from tiny 20 months. That's the daughter of somebody who's been part of the Circle community for quite a while, up to sort of 12 years in age. And it's designed, I suppose, in the same way we want it to work for us, designed to encourage that making time for making with your child, and for the child to have the opportunity to make connections and have a kind of creative conversation with a child of a similar age. We're providing little welcome packs just with some fun materials in, and yeah, just seeing how that kind of format that we sort of know and love, how that might translate into a younger audience. And in terms of how you can get involved with our community, because we set up the circle in the sort of early January of each year, and as Eleanor explained, it is all connected. So we don't tend to then set up new mini circles through the year. So we normally advertise the new circle in the October of the year before. So this October, ready to launch in January 2022. But we offer the mail outs. You can sign up for those, and they're really, really inexpensive. We have we make a tiny budget go a long way, and so they're very, very affordable. Lots of creativity and lots of thought goes into them, and they're really lovely prompts for just to, I don't know, use in the classroom or use in your own making. Obviously, the courses that we've talked about, we're planning more of those this year. Our Facebook group, which has been going since T, is brilliant, and it's very, very supportive, very busy space, very supportive space. There's about 1,000 members, and I guess at the moment there's probably about 170 people who are active members. So you can be part of that community without having a kind of active membership. And then obviously our social media. So yeah, you can get involved in these ways, and then if you're interested, obviously you can keep an eye out for what's going to be happening with the new circle for 22. And finally, our I suppose our future plans. We were reflecting on this, and our future plans seem to be I don't know, sneaking up on us a bit. things are starting to happen, which is quite exciting. So we're talking to a group about offering some support to regional groups, and that's something we're really keen to become involved in. We'd like to start to look at how we can work with primary schools, maybe providing resources in terms of maybe setting up their own circles, for instance, or learning resources. And as Eleanor touched upon as well, we have some great relationships now with some small businesses and workshop spaces and things who we have a nice reciprocal relationship where they're providing us with maybe some resources, and we're able to promote them a little bit. And it tends to be hinged on lovely processes that we're bringing to the group that they're interested in. So we haven't really got an agenda with that, but it is nice to collaborate with, as well as artists, with creative businesses. So I think that's all. I've just ended with the image of our poster that we sent out a couple of years ago with our circle and our what's become our sort of hashtag Make Time for Making. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, both of you. Gosh, that's so inspiring. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of questions that want to come your way, but the first question I would like to ask you both is, how on earth do you find the time to teach, to make your own work, and to run Sketchbook Circle? Because I think, you know, as we've talked about quite a lot this week, is finding time is difficult.
Yeah, I think it's you feel quite motivated to do. It goes back to the community thing that we keep harping on about, because it feels like we get so much back from it, and it doesn't feel like a separate thing, because we are kind of naturally making things. We are keen to keep improving in our classroom and feel inspired, but there's so many people within that group that are sharing really exciting things, so it happens quite naturally. You have to be, again, it goes a little bit back to the discipline that I mentioned at the beginning, and we do work hard to keep it going, but it's because we kind of care about it. You know, we're not making massive money out of it. It genuinely is a passion. So we cover our costs, and we try and pay artists properly, and we are thoughtful about what it's like to receive things. So those mail outs are really important. We want this to be thoughtful, you know, the course materials, those sorts of things. But it's inspiring to be doing it, I guess. That's my feeling anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think also because we've kind of got this way of working together, it's a lot of text messages, the odd phone call, but we will communicate constantly throughout the day, the evening, and I think neither of us own it, and we understand that we've both got pressures in our lives, so we there's no kind of try not to put pressure on one another, but we have this commitment to this community. And another thing that I love that happens is when, say, somebody who's quite new to the group will ask a question on maybe on the Facebook group, and we don't need to answer all the questions because our other people from the community are as knowledgeable and supportive, and I love that, because that's when it feels like the circle is owned by everybody. And I think we are so lucky. We've met this amazing community of people, and I think we get every bit as much out of it as the people that are not running it in the same way that we are.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that Susan talks a lot about this kind of power of connectivity, and I think that this joining the dots between people who share the same passions and interests, and there's no kind of hierarchy in the system. It's just, like you say, it's a community where people are working together, they're sharing, they're supporting each other, they are looking at different ways that they can develop their practice, but it also helps within their teaching. That kind of that real shared genuine passion keeps going. And I'm sure that there are lots of people in this group who perhaps have a different creative art form. They're perhaps musicians or performing artists, which is slightly different, I think, because visual art can be quite solitary. But I wonder whether there are similar networks that exist or could start around another kind of art form that would work in the same way as Sketchbook Circle.
Yeah, when we started up initially, we did have a real diversity of participants. So I worked with someone who was a writer, actually, and there's something about that I found really exciting, because I was getting something back. I almost had to translate, or it pushed me harder. So I thought, well, what can I do with this? It wasn't safe, and it wasn't an easy reply. And actually, I really like that. So I certainly know, I set a circle up at my school, and it was a mixture of someone making digital things, the head of music, and everyone making, someone making cakes. It could be anything, but you're kind of, whatever you're receiving is a trigger for something creative for yourself, which could be an entirely different discipline.
Yeah, and I think that's very much what we're trying to do at Native Creatives, is join the dots between people who are all creative in whatever art form that comes. And of course that incorporates creative writing and poetry and digital media and all these different things, but getting you guys as creative artist educators to talk to one another and to develop these kind of communities where you can keep these passions going and not feel isolated or in your practice. Do we have questions from the audience? If you've put it into the chat box, or feel free to just wave your arms around, or click on the emoji. How do we sign up to the newsletter is a question.
So it should there should be a pop-up box that appears when you go onto the website that asks you if you want to sign up. So if not, then if you email the contact form on the website, sketchbookcircle.com, and I will add you. So 2 different ways.
You can always contact us as well at Festival Bridge, and we will try and put you in touch with Sketchbook Circle if you are struggling. Is there an international community? Is a question.
Yeah. Well, we have got a European circle. We didn't mention that, actually. There's probably about maybe 7 or 8 in Europe who are actually working, still posting their work actually across Europe. And we've so that's mostly Spain and Belgium and France. Yeah. But actually, it definitely digitally, that it's more, it's completely possible to work in that way, so that you could. That's the benefit of the digital element of it, is that you could easily work internationally. Yeah.
I think our worlds have been completely pulled apart in the last year, but actually it's really brought lots of people together, hasn't it? I definitely feel much more part of a community of people than I ever have done before. I don't know whether you've just seen this comment from Amy Lee, who says, following the Sketchbook Circle workshop with Lee John Phillips, I signed up and it's the best decision I've made for my creative soul. That's really lovely. Yeah. Such a lovely thing to say. Is there a circle of creatives from Wales?
Yes, I work for WJC Educast, so I have loads of creative friends in mostly in South Wales, and yeah, we've got a few people. Somebody who we're hoping to work with, Ben Meredith, is an artist and a teacher in Wales, and yeah, quite a number of people, and we've got people up in Scotland, and we're fairly spread over quite a large area of the UK, which is really nice.
That's really good. E Pearson, I'm sorry, I don't know more than E, says she's loved the session, can't wait to get involved, looks forward to signing up in October. Me neither. I should have signed up last year, and I got the wobbles. I'm an artist as well, and I suddenly thought, oh gosh, can I do this? Can I do this? And Susan kept saying to me, just sign up, come on, you can do it, you can do it. But this year, this is going to be my year with you, E Pearson. We'll do it together. So that'll be great. Website has been posted, which is great. Can we still order the Sketchbook Circle mail outs for this year? Someone?
Yeah, that's on our shop on the website. So we do it quickly because we've got some good ones coming up. Actually, we've got a risograph pack coming up. We're working with a company in Glasgow who are putting together packs so that people can have a go at making risograph images, and then they're printing them. So that's exciting. That's the next one.
Brilliant. Any other questions from the audience? You're probably all a bit fried after the end of your first week back in school, and that's full 6 sessions if you come to it of Native Creatives. I would just like to say thank you so much, Georgia and Eleanor. That was so inspiring. Since I've been made aware of Sketchbook Circle, I'm gutted that I haven't been involved in the last 15 years of my teaching in art and design. I hope you are all inspired to now either become part of Sketchbook Circle or connect with your own creative colleagues in whatever way, whatever art form that comes in. And we want to know about it. Tell us at Bridge, or if you want to connect with other like-minded people, again, contact us at Bridge and we will try to connect you or help you establish a group that you can work with the brilliant inspiration of Sketchbook Circle. Will you be running any courses, Claire Pope? Is that me or is that to Sketchbook Circle? I suspect that's the Sketchbook Circle.
Yeah, we've got another one in May coming. The one in 2 weeks is actually sold out, I'm afraid. But the one we've got in May, I think it's the 21st of May. We're going to be working with Amy Ash, who's a Canadian artist who's really beautiful work. So she's going to be kind of doing a studio. We're kind of having like a studio visit of her studio in Canada and looking at some of her processes. She uses a lot of cyanotype and found imagery. It's very beautiful work. And then we're working, one option is to do a digital workshop with Ben Meredith that Georgia mentioned. So that will kind of be using Procreate and some of his methods that he's really amazing draftsman. And then a sort of more textiles, more hands-on option, which is working with Sue Riley, mentioned earlier. So that real mixture, and us as well. We're running a workshop as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Gosh, it sounds amazing. Thank you so much again for giving up your time to talk to us about Sketchbook Circle, and yeah, what a great initiative. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting us. It was a pleasure.
Not at all. Don't forget to pop into the chat box and click on the Jamboard and just give us a sentence of feedback about today's session, or if you want to say anything about Native Creatives. So we've had some lovely comments in the chat box already. We have really enjoyed this session. The speakers that we've had have been amazing. The amount of attendees has been absolutely unbelievable. We as a team have worked really hard to put this together and make sure that it's free for all you guys, and we really want to keep this conversation going as to how to continue artistic practice as art educators. Please do get in touch with me and let me know what you think, or how you'd like to continue, or if there's anything that's specific you'd like to see in the next programme, because we want to keep this going, and I want to know what you think about Native Creatives and how we can do this. But thank you all very much. It was really nice to see you all, particularly those who came to every 6 session. But if you only managed to come to one, then today was a good one. So thank you for doing that. So thank you very much. The holding slide will have all our details on if you want to contact us. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Festival Bridge, or you can follow me at Langascoff Jen. Don't forget to follow Sketchbook Circle and Susan Coles, who's still in the corner, I can see. Thank you very, 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 very much. It's been a great week.